Hello, fall is just around the corner, and so I thought we would do a series of fall-inspired projects. I also have a teeny tiny obsession with vintage pickup trucks. So I selected a vintage pickup truck with in keeping with the fall, a load of pumpkins, maybe going to market from the farm. And we are going to be using our watercolor tubes again. I'm hoping that you have already Sharpied, traced the lines that I provided with your Sharpie marker. If not, you can pause this video and go ahead and do that, and then turn me back on when you are done with that. Okay, so we're going to use a little bit of color theory here. We are going to make our truck body purple, and of course the pumpkins are going to be orange. Now the reason why I selected that is that purple and orange are on opposite sides of the color wheel, and so they contrast very nicely together. Okay, remember red and green, okay, are opposite, so that's why they go together so nicely. Purple and orange are wonderful combinations. Okay, and so and then our background will be blue, and then we've got some flying fall leaves here. Okay, so let's get started by getting out a smallish brush. And I don't believe I've opened this one up, so I need to poke it to make a hole. I didn't poke it enough. There we go. And put a little bit out here. Set that off to the side. And then add water. And I've got my water for my watercolor paints, my brush, and my paper toweling. Now this is a nice dark purple, and we'll be adding some shadows and some highlights to our truck. So we're going to paint the truck. Now the windshield we will make gray. And then we need to pick up a little more water. I'm hearing crickets in the background, so we must be coming close to fall. I need to add just a little more water to that. So by using the slightly thicker Sharpie, it gives us nice lines to paint up to, right? And if you happen to go over a line with the purple paint, don't worry about it. Once it's dried, you can go back over it with the Sharpie, and it'll pop up nicely again. Whoops. Got a little too much paint on that one. I think you'll like how the colors pop on this piece when you get finished with it. And you'll have some fall decoration for your room. Now we're going to go around the door handle. That'll be a different color. And again, go with your line instead of towards it. And if you want to grab a bigger brush for filling in this larger area, you can. I think I'm just going to stick with my medium-sized brush. Okay, now we'll keep working our way back. Now I think I'm going to paint this little top piece here black. So I'll just do the purple below it. And then this will be the back tail light. So we'll leave that a different color too. Looking to see if there's any place I want to touch up. That needs to be a little darker right there. A little bit of white showing. So I'll touch that up. Okay. Okay. So we've got all of our just straight purple on there. What we're going to do is add some highlights on this door and then on the roof and the hood. Not quite sure what I've got. There we go. I had a little bit of blue or something in my paint. We need to make sure that it's as white as possible. Now, I don't want it to be just straight white, so I'm going to add just a little bit of purple to it. And then I'm just going to do some highlights right there. And on the hood. And then I'm going to put some on the side of the door just by stroking down a little bit. Okay. And we can put a few here. And then back of this wheel well. And then if you want to do just a little that's more straight white, you can go back over some of that where we have like the most noticeable highlight. Just to kind of build up gradations of highlight. And then just a little bit there. All right, now we're going to change colors, so you need to wash your brush out very nicely. Okay, so we'll put, and we're going to get out our Payne's Gray again. Now, if you remember, this Payne's Gray is very dark, so I'm going to mix some of my white with it right from the start because I don't want it to be as dark. Now I'm starting to get the color that I want. This will be for the running board here. And then back here on our bumper. And I'm going to add a little more white here. That's going to be for our wheels. Okay, and I'm going to add even more white. So it's a very light gray, and that's for the windows. Okay, so we're going to clean it out, and we're going to use a little bit of yellow for our headlight. Just a little bit of paint. Don't want to waste our paint because we have just a very small. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Sorry about that. Our door handle. Now I'll just have to clean my brushes out again. If your water starts getting too dirty, feel free to pause me again and get some clean water. It's a nice light yellow. And then we need a little bit of red for the taillight. So we've got our scarlet here. Again, just a little dab of paint. And when you put these away, make sure that you've got the tops on nice and tight because the paint will dry out in the tube. There's that. Okay, so now we're going to get out the black. And this will be for the tires and then this little strip here. I think this is starting to look very cute. Hope you're happy with how it's going for you. Okay, now I think I'm going to, before I switch to the orange, I'm going to get some clean water. I have some extra here. All right. Now we're going to get out our orange. See, and look at how those two colors pop next to each other. Now, if you want to layer some of your other colors on there, you could add, a little bit of a golden color. We've got a, what's the name of this? You've got yellow ochre. You've got a vermilion that's a redder. You can add some white to it and put some highlights on your pumpkins. You can definitely make it your own. I'm just showing you the basics. You have enough experience now that you can play around. And I did have some variations intentionally. Some of the orange little segments are darker than others, so you can play around with that as well. Now I'm going to get out a dark green for the stems. And then I'm going to add a little bit of brown to that too. The green will just give it a little more of a pop of color, but we'll soften it down with the brown. Okay, so then I will get out this raw umber, which is a nice dark brown. Just get just a teeny tiny amount of that too. Mix just a little bit of green with it. And then don't try to cover all of the green that you put down on the front, just a little bit of it. Just so they look a little more realistic as stems. There you go. Okay, looking good. So while we've got our red and yellow and orange still out, let's do our leaves on the background. And then we'll do the road and the grass, and then the blue around it, okay? So we're gonna, these are just kind of random leaves blowing around. And after it dries, if you want to put in the veins with your black Sharpie, you can do that. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of red to make a red orange. Go over these and add a little bit of red orange to that. So I've added just a little bit of orange to go over that as well. Now, if you want to put leaves on the ground, you can do that. Just get out your Sharpie and draw them. And then go ahead and paint. So if you want some down here, that's fine, or falling on the road, you can do that as well. Okay, so speaking of the road, we are going to make it like it is a dirt road. Okay, so instead of, because we've got a lot of gray and black here, so let's use some brown, and I've got a burnt umber here. So let's do a brown first. And we'll do our base coat, and then we'll add some more things on top of it. Again, take your small brush to go around. Then I'm going to pick up my bigger brush to do the larger areas. So sorry, I didn't realize I had that down too low. Yeah, you can see it, right? Okay. Sorry about that. And pulled the paper closer to me. Okay, so now I'm going to pick up my larger brush and finish this section off. Whoops, got too much. Can move that around. If you get too much paint on a spot, you can just simply take some water in your paintbrush and kind of move it around. It'll work out fine. Okay, so now we're going to pick up a different color of brown. That was raw umber, so we're going to go with, you'll see there's burnt sienna, and we're going to give it some texture because it's dirt, right? So I'm going to stick with my bigger brush. And then we're going to sort of dab at it in different ways. So this isn't a back and forth movement. This is kind of an up and down. I'm making it a little darker underneath the truck because of the shadow. And under the wheels here. Okay. So now we're going to add just a little bit of white to our burnt sienna. I wish I didn't, I don't know where that blue's coming from. There, that's better. It's hiding. Okay, now we're going to go back to our smaller brush and load it up with some water. And then we're going to do just some little texturing with our lighter. Okay, and we're not going to do it up right under the truck because again, that's where the shadow would be. Again, just kind of some random texture. All right, there we go. Now I'll push this up even further to make sure you can see. All right, so down here, we're going to start with green. So for the grass, let's get out our Viridian Green. I'll spit that out. And we use that for our base coat. And then again, because it's fall, we don't have the bright greens that we do in spring and summer. We have darker greens and some browns mixed in. So this is just a straight shot on our painting. So I'm just going to use the bigger paintbrush, get it all the way out to the edges. I think I'll use just a little bit more. All right, so we have that all together. And now we want to bring in some gold. So I've got my yellow ochre here. And again, we're just going to do some areas of this. Kind of random. You can do it both horizontally as well as vertically with your brush. And see how you can get different textures by the amount of water that you have on your brush. Okay, now let's turn our piece over upside down, unless it's more convenient for you to do it the other way. So we're going to do the sky, and we're going to use some nice bright blue colors. See if I have a spot on my paper plate. I'm going to leave that out because I'm sure I'm going to use quite a bit of paint. Make sure you've got your brush clean. And since we've got a bigger area to do, I'm going to kind of work in sections. So let's go around this leaf, and then we'll pick up our big brush. And blend out. We don't want it to dry too much before we start filling in larger areas. So we don't want that line to be there, right, from our first brush stroke. Now, when we're finished with this, your paper will be a little wrinkled. So what you can do is put it under some books for at least a day. Weight it down, and then it should be just fine. Okay, so I've got my little brush here, and I'm going to go around this other. I've got my one brush up here. I just kind of hold on to the brush I'm not using so that it's ready for when I do need to use it. And it's fine to have some variations in the blue. add a little more blue to my plate. That'll give me enough, hopefully, to finish up. Okay, and then you can go back over it and see if there's any areas that you want to blend out a little bit more. It's got a little dark right here, so I'm going to try to give it a shot of water. I think I've showed you this before, but if you get too much water on an area, you can just blot it with paper toweling. Now, if you want to, again, I want you to put your own personal touch on here. This is the basic, but if you want to take some white and mix with your blue and do, you know, some areas that's lighter, sort of like clouds or something, you're more than welcome to do that. If you want to go in and put some lines on your leaves, to make them a little more interesting, you can do that. All right. So once again, I've had a lovely time painting with you. I hope you enjoyed it. And we will continue with fall-inspired projects as we move through the next few weeks. Thank you.